The unprecedented COVID-19 crisis demands an unprecedented global response. With winter arriving in the northern hemisphere and a possible second wave, vaccine development is essential. Major countries and manufacturers are racing to make a vaccine available. So, what are the essential criteria for a safe and reliable vaccine? And how will the global response shape public health cooperation amid the pandemic? To discuss all these issues and more, I'm joined by Dr. Qiu Dongxu, co-founder, executive director, and senior vice president of CanSino Biologics, Nicole Hassoun, professor of philosophy at Binghamton University, and later in the program, by Dr. Andrea Fay Godin, CEO of Health Finance Institute. That is our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Wang Guan. Dr. Qiu, let me go to you first. Your company, CanSino, has begun phase 3 trials of a vaccine. How close are we to a reliable and effective vaccine?
Hello, everyone. This is Qiu Dongxu. Yeah, I'm in Karachi, and the largest city in Pakistan. Wow. And we have developed. Hello. Yeah, we have developed this COVID-19 vaccine with the Beijing Institute of Biotechnologies. This adenovirus virus vector candidate had been developed by us in the early February. We have done a lot of animal studies before we start clinical trial in March. Our phase 1 and the phase 2 result was published in the Lancet, and the results demonstrate very good safety profiles and also very good immunogenicities. Yeah.
What about phase 3 trials? Where are we? I mean, people are talking about a time frame where we can access a safe vaccine. I'm sure it is a process that is still in the works, but how close are we really, Dr. Qiu?
Yeah, phase 3 trial already started in the Russian and the Pakistan's. And we also scheduled to start very soon in the Mexico, and also Chile, and so Argentina. According to the WHO guidelines, this phase 3 trial will last about 3 to 6 months. And we will hopefully early next year, we will have some initial result.
Okay, I see. Professor Hassoun, let me go to you. You're in the United States. This morning, or your last night, we heard from Vice President Mike Pence in the vice presidential debate, whereby he said there will be a vaccine available by the end of the year. What is the progress and the process over there? I mean, how hopeful should we be about an American vaccine?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of progress globally. I think Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Oxford, Pfizer, a bunch of different companies are working on vaccines. Many of them are in phase 3 trials. As you know, Russia has a vaccine, and China has 2 that are being tested, at least, in final stages and given out a little bit. So I think it's very likely that we'll have some success with at least some of these vaccines.
Talking about experimental vaccines, there are 9 of them currently in the pipeline for WHO-led COVAX. That is a global vaccine facility, a program over there. And this organization say that they wanted to distribute 2 billion doses by the end of 2021. What are the criteria for picking a safe vaccine that can be used on humans?
I mean, I think it has to be both safe and effective. It's really important that we have adequate testing of vaccines, both to ensure uptake and safety. As you know, there's the 3 phases to clinical trials. Phase 1, usually small groups receive it. In phase 2, a larger group of people will receive the vaccine, and finally you're giving the vaccine to thousands of people in phase 3. So it's typically not a very quick process.
Yeah, I don't think
for
we
instance,
can hear you that
to
well,
both
Nicole.
invest in the manufacturing.
Yeah,
Yep.
hang on just there. We'll go back to you, but I think there are some technical issues over there. Dr. Chiu, let me go to you. When you talk about the vaccine, eventually it will be used on humans, right? So what kind of people should be prioritized? What kind of people should receive an injection of a vaccine?
Yeah, I think first we should give this, the frontline workers to, contact a lot of public people, especially, healthcare workers. So they should get this vaccine first. And then I think a lot of public servants, who service public transit, airport, airline, all these kind of workers should get this vaccine first.
And then, from the medical perspective, is that true that some people do not need a vaccine at all? Because that is, what is said by media and some commentators.
Yeah, if we have enough, I think we can get everybody to get these vaccines. But this take time for, even we have 9 vaccines now in late stage, but still take time for all these companies to work, get enough vaccine for everybody. So we have to prioritize.
Yeah, Nicole, how do you think vaccine use will be prioritized in the United States? Should there be one?
Yeah, so the National Academy of Sciences has put out some guidelines on how we should distribute within the U.S. and so agrees that frontline workers are going to have first priority. I think internationally there's through COVAX there's a distribution system, so everyone's supposed to be able to vaccinate at least 3% of their population who signed on, and then rich donor countries get to vaccinate 20% first. And I think there's important ethical issues about how we do distribute it so that it is equitable. But even maybe more important than how we distribute a scarce vaccine initially is ensuring that we think creatively enough to overcome the fundamental barriers to access for medicines for COVID. So 80% of manufacturing is in the generic sector, and we need to be able to utilize all of that capacity. I guess, on my view, I don't think there should be patents or profiteering in a pandemic, but companies do need to substantiate the claims that their patents are justified, and that we should restructure incentives for research and development to reward companies based on the health impacts of their technologies rather than just tying our rewards to sales volume. So I'd like to see more equitable distribution through COVAX, but also more effort to ensure open access licensing of technology.
Right. Talking about obstacles, are you worried about regulatory and administrative hurdles over there? Because each country has their own, FDAs or similar organizations. Should there be a vaccine, do you think there will be like export-import controls and different FDA standards and regulations?
Yeah, I think that it's important in the U.S. context really to ensure that people understand that a vaccine has been well tested. There's a lot of vaccine hesitancy. So a lot of people, I think less than 50% of people are saying, yes, I would definitely take this vaccine if it is available in the U.S. As far as importing vaccines, I think, if the vaccines have been demonstrated to be safe and so forth, that, that the administration would be quite amenable to, taking vaccines. They have contracts with, Oxford and so forth to get vaccines as they're developed. So, yeah,
Right.
I think that the border controls aren't going to be the problem, but the people's willingness to take something that they are not sure is safe will be a more
Yeah,
pressing
Nicole,
issue.
before we let you go, you know what? I read a survey of a while ago that says, close to 1/3 of Americans do not like the idea of, having a vaccine injected on them. Even if there would be one. Is that true? Is that a sentiment that you feel in the United States?
I think in the U.S. things have become pretty politicized. So vaccine uptake is there's not a lot of trust in the government on some sides, and so there's that combined with other political factors that make it difficult for people to accept, and I think it's difficult to combat that. We really do need to remember, devastating diseases that have, good vaccines and how important those vaccines are. And so coming up with a public education campaign that address these issues, I think, is a pressing challenge in the U.S.
Sure. Less politicization, that is the desire of many. Thank you very much, Nicole Hassoun, Professor of Philosophy at Binghamton University. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Dr. Chiu, in Karachi, Pakistan, let me go to you again. Talking about COVAX, can you first of all explain to our viewers who are not so familiar with this organization, what is COVAX? Is that the best hope that we can have right now for an effective vaccine?
Yeah, COVAX, I think, is WHO try to produce the programs and try to let worldwide, every country, every people have right to, to use this vaccine developed by different developers.
Right, but we heard from, world leaders, including WHO Secretary General, who's saying that basically, COVAX is producing vaccines, which is, of course, a public good, but it's not charity. He said, and I quote, "Working together through COVAX facility is not charity. It is in every country's own best interests to control the pandemic and accelerate the global economic recovery." That's, of course, according to Dr. Tedros. Do you think that is a plea for countries, especially developed countries, to pitch in, to donate funding to this organization? How do you look at what he said?
Yeah, I think, this pandemic already lasts for almost a year, and we predict will continue. I think, for everybody in this world can use affordable vaccines is very important. I think this hopefully, I think it doesn't matter if it's developed country or the developing country, everybody should have the right to use these vaccines. Actually, especially some developing countries, actually they have more need these vaccines.
Right. We understand that we have Dr. Andrea Fay Godin with us, who is the CEO of Health Finance Institute. Welcome, Andrea. Welcome back. We were talking earlier about an effective and safe vaccine. Dr. Chiu basically said we're about 3 to 6 months away from the completion of phase 3 trials. And our other guests, other people in the United States, for example, Vice President Mike Pence said there will be a vaccine by the end of the year. What do you think? What's your understanding of this issue?
Thanks so much for having me again. And indeed, this is the fastest development of a vaccine that we've seen in human history. So we have 10 candidates right now in phase 3, and 3 or 4 are looking very promising indeed. And it is indeed likely that one of these candidates might be available, but only to a limited population by the end of the year. So for example, essential workers or healthcare workers might get access to that. When you think about the 2 billion doses or really immunizing worldwide, we are probably looking best case scenario early summer next year.
Okay, and then talking about COVAX, this organization, obviously, it needs lots of funding and resources from not just manufacturers, but, state governments, I suppose, for research and development before the mass rollout. How do you think COVAX may change the way countries work together on this pandemic?
I think that what we see here with COVID in general and by the emergence of COVAX is that health and wealth and economic growth are absolutely related. And how well one country deals with this disease affects also how other countries fare. So this is the reason that COVAX was established, because it is really about the creation of a common public good. But in the absence of a vaccine and in the absence of controlling the pandemic, we will see, yet another year of perhaps even another economic contraction. So I think that COVAX makes a lot of sense, both for making sure that we create immunity against this virus. It also makes a lot of sense economically. You invest upfront, but you will reap the benefits for years to come financially as well. And how it might change international collaboration. From a public health perspective, my hope is that this collaboration shows that by working together, we can find cures for other diseases much faster in other areas as well, that we learn from this collaborative effort and that we can build on it.
Right. Dr. Fay Godin, let me ask you about, talking about global public good, let me ask you about this. China says it will make COVID-19 vaccine a global public good. We heard from China's leader saying that over and over again. And he also said that priority of use will be given to the developing countries, especially those in Africa. This announcement, of course, got mixed responses globally, even generated some debate. How do you look at China's pledge?
I think that there has been a lot of global talk and global politics around this crisis, and I think that some in the U.S. have seen China's recent stance as a way of trying to step into a leadership vacuum after, for example, the U.S. has been withdrawing from the World Health Organization. In and of itself, I think making vaccines available is a very good thing, but since this is also politics, one can probably expect that there might be some political leveraging that might ensue. So again, from a public health perspective, we believe that health is important in and of itself, and we hope that the Chinese leadership also takes, and hopefully will continue to take that stance.
Dr. Chiu, what do you think? I mean, do you think the goal of making COVID-19 vaccine a global public good, a deliverable goal?
Yeah, for sure. There's China actually we have a 4 product currently in the late phase 3 studies, and we're working very hard. For my company, like CanSino, we have new facility for specially designed for this COVID-19 vaccines, and should be finished in end of this year and start production roughly next, I think, March. And we can produce roughly 200 to 300 million doses. So this is only one company. Actually, we have 3 others.
Well, put that in context for us.
China
200 to 300 million.
To the world.
I mean, that would be effective for,
yes.
I suppose, a whole lot of people, the population of the United States.
Oh yeah. And there's only one company. Actually, we have other 3 companies. We're working very hard for the world. I think we can do a lot.
Hopefully that will be the case. You know what? Let's talk about, I hate to talk about this, but there is politicization surrounding a COVID-19 vaccine, and there are lots of talks about it on the internet. Let's look at some of our viewers and what they said about this issue. Now, Twitter user TF Global said this: COVID vaccine race is in full swing as Russia, China, the US, India, the UK, and many other countries are now actively trying to make their vaccines reach the rest of the world. COVID vaccine now means tremendous soft power. I mean, Dr. Chiu, as a public health professional, do you agree with the assessment that it is a tool of soft power when it comes to vaccine development?
Sorry, I didn't get this. The signal is not very good.
Right, Dr. Chiu. Do you think vaccine development is a tool for countries to present their soft power?
Some people can say that. I don't think so. This vaccines save lives. Vaccine for last 100 years always save lives. This is one of great product. I think it's better, if I understand it right, okay? I think vaccines is vaccine. This save life. It's better don't connect with any politics.
Right, Andrea, how do you look at this, vaccine nationalism?
If you look at development assistance for health, right, about $30 billion a year being spent to promote the health of people living in developing countries. And when you look at some of the analysis where that money is being spent and by whom, there has always been the use of development assistance, for example, as soft power. So it will come as no surprise when countries such as China or such as others that are leading the race in vaccine development try to make sure that their own countries come first, or those that they favor in trade partners, or try to get trade favors for those countries that they make it available. And I think COVAX is trying to kind of avert that, because I think COVAX is sort of a more of a solidarity effort where countries pitch in together and then they get they reap the benefits. But I think that sometimes in public health we are a bit naive, because again we believe health for its own sake, but it's been historically used as a soft power tool, and we will surely see it play out in a similar fashion. The hope is, however, that really that health comes first.
Things have consequences. For example, we think about geopolitical rivalry right now and geopolitical tensions, and that makes many people wonder, what if we do have a vaccine and there are national borders and barriers? Are you worried about those barriers when it comes to the rollout of vaccine, the access to vaccines? There are, politics aside, there are regulatory and administrative hurdles, for countries.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that both at a political level, but just at the sheer access level, there will be inequities in access to care. So one could think within countries, people that are sicker, people that are poor, that are less educated, will probably not be as likely to vaccinate. When you look at countries and their affordability, I don't know what the pricing per dose is, and also for manufacturing, there need to be advanced market commitments. So I think there definitely is, there will be some inequity issues that will arise. And then just generally, it might also be that there might be an inequity gap between those who are willing to be vaccinated versus those who don't, and that's yet another issue to be to be managed here.
Right. We saw how amazingly fast the U.S. president recovered from his COVID positive test, right? But not everyone, I suppose, can have the access to the treatment that he has got.
Yes, I mean, thankfully he seems to be doing better, and we wish that on every person that they recover very quickly. Now, President Trump's treatment was, I think, the most unique treatment to date. He received the highest dose that's been given of a Regeneron monoclonal antibody cocktail before he was able to launch his own immune response. He was given steroids in order that again suppress some of the action of the virus, plus an additional antiretroviral. So this combination of drugs has not been afforded to any patient that we know so far. But and again, one should not conclude from n=1 on how this works in a larger population. But that type of VIP care is not available even within the U.S. or high-income countries to masses of the population, unfortunately.
Yeah, Dr. Chiu, talking about inequality, how do you think societies and policymakers can do to make sure that vaccines are accessible to not just the wealthy and privileged, but everyone?
I think these days, from my personal point of view, like we connect too many things with the politics, with the business, and I really don't hope, this politics do too much to interfere in this vaccine development. We let this, our like we call the company to develop our product, freely, and we get the safe, efficiency product for all the peoples. And the only thing I think these different countries should do, try to work together to get some kind of standard, give us easy to access to the other countries, to other poor guys.
Yeah, hopefully the policymakers will hear your call. Dr. Chiu Dong-Xu, co-founder, executive director, and senior vice president of CanSino Biologics, and also Dr. Andrea Fay Godin, CEO of Health Finance Institute. Thank you both so very much. And I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this edition of Dialogue. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Wang Wen in Beijing.